In our last video about colorism, you talked about a term called passing, a term that I believe not many people have heard about in their lives. So I'd like to ask you if some people wanted to know more about passing, where should they go?
I think that they could go on YouTube uh, and or some streaming service and look for two films, Imitation of Life and Pinky, both of which are from the first half of the 20th century of last century. So we're talking about classics. And because the idea of passing was explored in Hollywood films, and it became a genre called the tragic mulatto, which would be usually a woman who was light, whose skin was light enough, and whose other features, physical features, were quote unquote white enough for her to appear to be white. In other words, for her to pass. And then, but she knew that she wasn't, according to the law, she was not white because her mother was black, because her father was black, because for some such reason. So, in Imitation of Life, we see the story of this dark skinned maid who has a very light skinned daughter who wants to pass as white. And in order to do that, she has to deny the existence of her Black mother, her Negro mother. And so their relationship is very um, difficult. And I think she even um, is engaged to be married to a white guy, but then something happens. I don't remember that she doesn't marry him, and the mother also dies. And once the mother dies, she feels very guilty because of the way she had treated her mother all her life. And so that's the tragic mulatto, a woman who is uh, light enough to be considered white, but genetically, but in terms of her ancestry, she is black, and so according to the law, she's not white, and she doesn't fit into either either identity, either world. And the other is Pinky, which is a film from 1949. Um, and it's interesting because 1949 is a year after President Harry Truman desegregated the armed forces. So the buzz about combating legal racial segregation is taking place right after World War II. And so this film, Pinky, is about a Negro woman from the South who lived, was very poor, who had been raised by her um, Negro grandmother, very dark skinned Negro grandmother, who was a washerwoman for a wealthy Southern white lady. And Pinky goes to the North, goes to Boston to study nursing. And once there, she lives her life as a white woman because she's blonde, very white, white skin, light hair. And she says that once the train passed the Mason-Dixon line and she was not removed from the white car in on the train, she decided to continue living as a white person. And so she met and fell in love with a doctor who proposed marriage to her. And then once that happened, she fled to the South. She went to visit her grandmother, and the guy goes after her. And what is his surprise to no, no, that's my grandmother. It's like, what? So now he's also in a dilemma because he had asked her to marry him, but it's interracial marriages were against the law in 1949 in the United States, in a number of states in the United States. So he suggested that they move to Colorado, where nobody would know either of them, so that they wouldn't be accused of a crime. And she loves him, but she opts not to marry him and to stay in the South and live as a Negro woman. So the Southern white lady died and left her home to Pinky, who then turned the house into a nursing school of nursing, and and lived there happily ever after. She, at the end of the movie, she's smiling. She's like, she's found herself. But so there are all kinds of implications. One was that the producers were in a conundrum. Like, who do we hire to play Pinky? If we hire a light-skinned Negro actress to play a Negro woman who is passing as white, it would be as if we were endorsing passing. But on the other hand, if we hired a white woman, a white actress to play a Negro woman who is passing as white, then we would be saying that anybody could pass as white. That maybe a lot of actors in Hollywood are actually not white, which was the case, as a matter of fact. So then in the end, they opted to hire Jean Crane, who was a white woman, to play this role. But the movie shows that's like, no, you cannot pass. If you're light skinned, it doesn't matter what your color is. The race, the law says one drop blood makes you, one drop of black blood makes you black. Therefore, and that's how you have to live, and not pretend to be somebody you're not, right? Because she remains in the South, where everybody knew her as that Negro woman. So I think these two films are, have a lot of meat in them, and they're entertaining.